Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's August 18th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and I wanted to show you the daily chart real quickly. We talked about this move up here. We had this little channel working higher here, and we were looking for a possible measured move up, but I also discussed how we'd met this measured move and kind of overshot it, and then we pulled back and we tested the breakout area again, and you would think we'd probably try to go higher today, which we did early on, but today was an FOMC day. I forgot to make note of that in the mid-morning chart, but it was, and you had to be careful. You wanted to be flat from about going into the 1 o'clock news on FOMC. Never take a new trade after an hour before that, and be flat a quarter. If you're already in a trade, be flat before about 15 minutes early, in case, because you never know when something like what happened today, what looked like was we were going to try to trade higher, turns out that we trade much lower. Now we're back inside this range today. Evidently they didn't like something in the FOMC report. I haven't seen it yet, haven't looked at what they came out with, so I don't know if we're getting any kind of rate change with this kind of volatility. Something must have surprised somebody, so maybe there's a rate change, or maybe I'm not sure. Maybe they said something that they were expecting to do that we weren't talking about otherwise. Actually, I'm going to look real. Well, it looks like they talked about tapering back on bond purchases, which would lead to higher rates most likely. So that's probably why the market didn't like that. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Even if you know the news in advance, you never know how prices are going to react to it. I've seen negative news that would scare you to death and the market shoots straight up, and I've seen the most positive news in the world and the market shoots straight down. So there's no advantage to even knowing what's coming in advance, and for the most part. So all these people that try to trade the news, I mean, the only thing you could do is you might, my opinion on FOMC days, be flat going into it. Don't take any trades an hour prior and wait till the market kind of resets. Generally, when you see an FOMC, well, we'll go to the regular chart. Let me go to the regular chart before we talk about that. Okay, here's our intraday chart, 2000 tick. But generally, when you see an FOMC, the blue area is the FOMC that you want to stay out. But notice the news came right in here. It's 1 o'clock. First it shoots up and then it shoots straight down. And then it comes back and takes almost every bit of it back and restarts right about where it was before, and then a new trend starts up. And that's pretty typical within an hour after a big news announcement. There's some crazy move because of its emotional move, and the market usually takes it back really quick. And you can see here where they basically reset by 2 o'clock, and we started over and trended right, and then we just started a downtrend. Evidently, they didn't like the news in the end, and the market spooked the market, and people are selling. So that's how that generally works. But as you can see, what looked like was going to be a relatively mild range day, tight range day, turns out to be a big sell-off day. And again, avoid this area in here. This is kind of where it settled back down right in here when it had reset. So after that point, you could notice I only marked a couple of trades. There weren't really any good opportunities to get in this stuff today. Some pretty good trading early on. But let's back out. We'll go through these trades and we'll wrap the day up. 7 o'clock came right in here. We rallied up here, tried to go higher once, tried to go higher twice. It failed. I actually like taking this on a lower high. We're working down. That's the first close outside. Then you get this lower high. Look how bearish that bar is. I'm surprised it really didn't drop on down there, but it comes back one more time. A lot of times the smart traders like to see that 2 times try to go higher that fail. Just go short 1 tick below that bar, and if you're a pretty good trader, you might trade the engulfing bar. But hear me say this: I see more trades in the forum, people asking why they failed, and I get emails on them. Why did this trade fail? Why did this failure fail? And a failure that fails is not a failure. You just got trapped. And usually it's on an engulfing bar. So if you see an engulfing bar, avoid those trades unless you're a really skilled chart trader. You'll save yourself a lot of losses. In fact, if you're not a really skilled chart trader, forget about failures all the way around because they're an advanced trade and you need to know what you're doing. And so just be real careful with those. But you should have entered here, and if you didn't, definitely enter on the failure if you know what you're doing and you're a skilled chart trader. And this one you would have had a runner most likely. Actually, both of these you probably would have got a runner. I'm not sure about this one. Depends on how you entered it. But we run on down. We go a little bit lower than we originally did on the overnight. But you can see quickly we get this reversal pattern here. This is technically, I'd look at this as a double bottom, but you could say first entry, second entry, and take that long right there. But I think you're better off to look at this as a failure, and this is a first entry, and this is a second entry, and try to get long on this nice bullish bar right here. And if you catch that trade, either one of them, you get a runner. You probably don't get as nice a runner on this one as you would here, but you get a nice runner there. We run up and then we start going sideways, but notice the triple test there. We made that support. We test it once, we test it twice, plenty of room back to the high. If you catch that, you got another trade. Runs all the way to the top. Where does it go? Right to the highs of the overnight. Goes a little bit higher and ends up failing and turning down. There is a failed second entry long right there, but I'd look at this as a double top. So first entry, second entry. So really your failure came right here. And that's really stretching it on that movement for a failure. But that does confirm that trend line as well. It's such a bearish bar. I like going short there, especially since it looks like it's going to be a range. And that's a nice move. There's a second entry here, but the signal bar is no good. Same thing here. You get another second entry. Signal bar is no good. Another second entry. Again, signal bar is no good. If you had a good signal bar on any of those, I'd probably take them. Maybe not this one. It's a little bit congested looking. But it's a shame that we didn't get a better signal bar here. Finally, we're coming up, and you got a little channel coming up here. And you finally get a lower. And this is the first break. Notice you had a little overshoot here, which shortly leads to a break. And this is really kind of sideways here. If you'd have drawn a little bit of a range here, you wouldn't have been wrong. So I'll put it on mine just so we can see it. But you can see the lower high, and you do have room there to the lows. And it's a range, so you're probably going to make a new low. Or it's a channel, I mean, a trend channel. So you're probably going to make a new low right there, which you do. And you actually push down. There's actually another lower high that looks very similar to this one, but it's so close to 1230 that I just don't recommend taking it because you might get stuck and look what would have happened to you. But as you can see, even in the FOMC news, the price action tends to work out. You had this channel working down, you got the break, a couple of moves down, it reverses. You're coming up in this channel, you get an overshoot, it reverses. You're working down, you get a break, a new low. Then you're working up, you get an overshoot. Really, you had a little bit of a low there. So you might have actually drawn this a little lower, like so. But no matter how you do it, you still get the overshoot, reversal. And the price action still works, even in this. But just stay clear of this. Again, I'd be flat on FOMC days. I wouldn't take any new trades within an hour of the news, which is 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. You have to convert that to your time. So that means from noon Central Standard Time, don't take any new trades. And if you're already in a trade that you're managing, a runner or something, even if you're still in it, by 1 o'clock news time, be out of that. No matter what's going on with it, get out of it, because you can't afford for something like this to happen to you and you be on the wrong side of it, because it can get crazy. You can see right there is at it was 1 o'clock, and it was straight up and then turned and was straight down. And all that happened within 10 or 15 minutes. So you don't want to get caught in something like that. So all that blue, we just stay, and it kind of got back to it reset here, was kind of back to normal. Unfortunately, you don't really get a chance to enter until here. Notice that you got a double top, you're working down, you get a first entry, second entry, and this is a little bit, another way you could have looked at this. There's a couple of ways you could have looked at that trade. Sideways, and so a failed breakout, but also a failed second entry long. I like going short there. It's a little bit aggressive. Plus, it's a retest of the breakout area. And it runs on down. And then, of course, your trend line ends up setting off of this sideways stuff. No way to enter in that. It's too dangerous. You know, it's very rarely a price is going to break out of this and go straight down like that. That's a very rare occurrence. And, you know, you hate to miss a trade like that, but sometimes you just don't get a chance. And of course, we're working back up, and it does the same thing again. So again, no opportunity to enter this. You might have looked, said, hey, we're working down first entry, second entry, and had a failed second entry. And that is the first close outside here. So you might have taken that one. That's one you might mark green. But if you wait just a minute, you get a second entry with a nice signal bar, and off it goes. And you'd had a runner here. And that would have taken you into the 3 o'clock hour. So not much. I mean, there's a lot of movement over here in this afternoon, but there's just not a good chance to get in it. And it's the worst thing to do, though, is get mad, and because what'll happen is you'll finally jump in down here, and it does this and stops you out, and then it goes right where you thought it was going to go. So, and certainly don't be trying to pick bottoms on this. That's the other problem traders tend to have. So anyway, interesting day. The FOMC changed everything today. We'll see if the market gets over it tomorrow and we kind of get back to rally back up, or if we're going to stay in the range. We'll just, you know, I showed you the possibilities on the daily chart. So we'll just have to see. But pretty bearish day the last 2 days. So, but I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next